Hey, welcome to Little Red Tug. Today we're going to talk for a few minutes about some trailer maintenance. We recently took a trip to Lake George, nice lake up in the Adirondacks, and you can see some posting on the blog about that. Before we left, we did a quick once over on the trailer, made sure the tires were inflated appropriately, checked the brakes, did all the usual, from the front of the trailer to the back, checking the hitch all the way to the back. And the only thing that we noticed before we left was that there was just a slight bit of sidewall cracking on the tires. They appeared to have dry rotted just a little bit. The original tires on the trailer, they had very low miles on them, but the trailer is 6 years old. We left, had no problems on the way down, a little bit of vibration. One of the fenders was bouncing a little bit, which isn't that unusual for this type of trailer. On the way back, I noticed that the vibration seemed to be getting worse, and checked the trailer a couple times at rest areas and noticed that the fenders were actually starting to crack a little bit on the supports where there's a C-channel that comes out. That was a concern because obviously if the fender comes off, not only is it a road hazard, but it can also take out the tire and probably part of the boat as well. We babied the trailer back home. It was about a 2 3/4 hour ride. And when we got back, we noticed that the tire on this side was actually separating. The belt appeared to have separated from the tire, and there was a split evolving on part of the tire. So we were very fortunate that we didn't have a blowout on this side. The tire on the other side, the case of the tire was not split, but the tire was no longer round. It was more of a taco shape. So looking at the tire in my mirror, I could see the sidewall moving a little bit. So both tires probably had less than 1,500 miles on them. However, the age of the tires being over 6 years old really made them prone to failure. We've done a little bit of research, and everybody seems to recommend these Goodyear Endurance tires. These are load range E. The previous tires were load range D. These are a little bit heavier tire, much stiffer sidewall, much better rating. Everybody seems to rave about these tires. These tires are also 80 PSI tires, and the other tires were 65 PSI tires. So we have the tires off. I've got the fenders getting fixed at this time. And with the tires off is a good time to check your brakes to make sure that our calipers are floating freely the way that they should. Make sure we're getting even wear on our rotor. We don't have a lot of rust. You can see that this trailer really hasn't been in salt water at all. It's had very little use. I'm gonna get the tires mounted up and the wheels mounted up, and we'll go from there. Before we mount the tires, I did put a very thin coating of Never Cease on the mating surface here so that we don't have any problems getting the tires off in the future. Before we left on the trip, I did service the hubs. I checked the bearings to make sure that everything was tight. Gave a few squirts of grease until we got some return out of the cone. So our hubs should be fine at this time. That's it for now. We'll see you in a few minutes. So when we jack the trailer up here, we actually have cribbing in the back, and there's also cribbing under the axle here as well. We've got a trailer jack stand under there. We want to make sure that the trailer's not going to shift when it's up in the air. Good.
Can you do, oops.
right, so we're ready to put the fenders back on the boat. We had a local welding shop here, give them a little tune-up. We put backing plates on both sides of the fender and reinforced the inside of the C channel here. There was some cracking where it mounts to the frame. This piece actually broke out. We'll see when these get back on if it stiffens them up enough for us to be happy with it. Otherwise, we might just put a strap in and bolt it on to stiffen it up a little bit more. These fenders do take a lot of weight, like when you climb in and out standing on it. It's a lot of load for the design of the fender. So we'll go from here, and hopefully things will work out great.